He was called the Arab philosopher, and he was actually kicked out of that society because he believed that you could incorporate science with the mystics, that they were related.
Was he an alchemist?
He believed in alchemy. He believed in alchemy. He believed in the mystics. He also believed in esoterics is the way I should say it. He believed in the esoterics and alchemy as well as science. He kind of had a mix of all of it. Al-Kindi. I don't know if you
Well,
ever.
he still remains famous to this day and remembered. Like, did he ever produce any manuscripts that have survived?
The original manuscripts haven't survived, but they do have copies of what he's had, and his writing is actually important because a lot of the information that was lost at the Library of Alexandria, he had access to because like the Persians were real big on knowledge, and they would go all the way to Egypt to gather this information and bring it back. And they had a whole library of stuff in the Middle East that Europe didn't have access to. So if anybody from like Europe and Greece and areas like that wanted real knowledge after the Library of Alexandria, they had to travel to freaking Persia or
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
There's a lot of smuggling too back in the day. From like there's some a serious market value that scrolls held. Like for Alexandria itself, uh, every
Mm-hmm.
ship's manifest, the inventory,
Yep.
they would all have to be taken note of, and it is some serious procedure that went, that was involved in uh, indexing, I guess, and they were pretty really hard nosed, really, for whatever reason.
They wanted
It
you.
was crazy too, like making
Mm-hmm.
copies, and uh,
Yep.
like how does that work? Only allowing copies, and the original manuscripts would be seized, and they'd be given copies back or something like that. It's crazy.
They were they were required to at least surrender. They had to surrender a certain amount of manuscript of any kind of not any kind of literature. They were real big about that.
Huh.
So whenever you came into Alexandria, you had to freaking you had to be able to produce at least one manuscript of some kind, and that was always contributed to the Library of Alexandria.
Oh, really? So
Yes,
there was it was a tax of sorts, a
of not
literary tax that
right,
was imposed.
right.
Ooh, how
So
about that?
I mean, they got information from everywhere, and like you said, the logs for ships. Okay, if ships didn't freaking have you know literature, they would copy their manifests down as payment. So not only did they have the literature, but they also had ancient manifests of ships that freaking went in and out of Alexandria.
You're saying that have survived to this day?
That is the bad part about it. Alexandria freaking went through a lot of crazy shit. Like there's parts of
Tumult, yeah, upheaval.
and there's a lot of especially when the Christians came in, the early Christians,
Yeah, yeah.
they destroyed a lot of stuff that was there, and then
Well, they were the first ones apparently who targeted the libraries. That's right.
mhm,
And then second round, several hundred years later, it was the Muslims.
well, to be honest, I don't really know clearly what date it was that the Muslims really came into that region because there's there's no real definite time where you can say okay this is where the Muslims came to take over. You know what I mean? Because at one
Yeah.
point at one point the Well,
yeah, 6th or 7th century.
yeah, but
That's the
no definite time period though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
like
Do you know what was famously said by the head overseer, military head honcho, regarding the burning and destruction of the libraries? That if it was if what the knowledge was already in the Quran, they didn't need it, and if it wasn't in the Quran, they didn't want it.
that's messed up. Yeah, that's the thing.
That's Islam. That's Islam for you.
Now, to me, this would
To
probably
this day.
be the area that we were looking at in that video,
Yeah, that looks well. Yeah, sure.
because that could have been the bridges that we were seeing with, because I was seeing squares, you know, so that probably could have been what we were looking at. At least that's the way it appears to me. So, I mean, that's a lot of blood. That's all I gotta say. If that was real, that would have.
Well, if it is blood,
Yeah,
if it is blood.
that's what really stood out to me.
So, you guys, it sounds like Mark's not interested, but maybe Roger, you'll check out the What on Earth series at some point,
Yeah,
and
actually.
you could end up binge watching. Who knows?
Now, What on Earth is right down my alley. I know that.
Yeah.
I really do get into stuff like that.
Well, if you do, we want to hear back from you for sure, what you managed to come up with. See, this is the age of apocalypse, okay? And the way I look at it is, it's not that complicated, actually. A lot of people, when they hear the term apocalypse, well, what's what's the first thing that comes to mind,
well, I already.
Mark?
Oh yeah, there you go. I was going to say I already know the
Yeah,
answer to this.
The end of mankind.
The end of
everything.
humanity, end of the earth, okay? Full destruction. Roger?
I was already on your show when you went over this, dude.
Well, do you remember what was
Yeah.
discussed?
Well, for me, the obvious answer is in front of you because the Book of Revelations, apocalyptic.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, it would be a time of revelation.
Yeah, unveiling and
Right.
revelation. That's right. So you're pulling back the veil of Maya, what has up until now been obscured or purposely hidden and buried. You know, Jim Marrs, the late great author Jim Marrs, one of his last books was titled Our Occulted History. Occulted meaning simply hidden. And good to see that Sonia's still there. She must be babysitting or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, who really knows? But so what we're seeing here with satellite technology
Yeah.
and archaeology itself. Look at the history of archaeology,
Yeah.
how that's unfolded for the past 200, well, 100, not quite 200 years. Modern archaeology in earnest, and the politics to that, talk of the Smithsonian further occulting and hiding or otherwise shelving. There were certain findings that could prove to be quite sensitive, even to the Earth paradigm shifting, really. And you've got these vested interests, of course, that stand to lose a great deal in that instance. Of course, anytime that's the case. But I'm endlessly fascinated with this. How the fact is, I'm quite convinced not necessarily in a, you could look at it in a biblical sense, fine, but even just in a secular way of viewing it within the context of what the ancient, I think it's Greek term, apocalypse or apocalypta, and then of course and what it means, and then apocrypha. That's part of Catholic. Biblical scripture that the Protestants, it's not, you don't find that in the King James version of the Bible. And that's another area of conversation I'm endlessly intrigued by, is why the canon, various church canons, are so different, and even to the point where both Protestant and Catholic, as an example, they completely ignore or deny, forbid the inclusion of various texts and scriptures. So, Age of Apocalypse, man, revealing and unveiling, and satellite technology and archaeology. Can you guys think of anything else the way it's being done?
Well,
people, we're having conversation, dialogue, internet, just digging more.
Right there, I got that.
Mark actually, do you know that Mark knows somebody who works on, what's it called? Is it Timeline? We've talked about this before, Mark. Remember, you have a friend, or your dad has a friend who works on that English, the British documentary series.
Oh, that's ended some time ago.
No, well, they've rebooted it. And Tony Robinson. Remember Tony Robinson hosts that. Actually, he's even returned. Time something or another. Do you know the one? You can easily find
Time Lords. Time Lords.
Time Team.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought it was something cool.
That's another great series. Roger, if you're into like British Roman history, especially.
Well, I don't like it too much because the Romans won. Like I despise
even
the Roman Empire.
Though, like even before the time of Romans, like pre-Roman, pre-Christ.
Yeah.
Back thousands of years. It's really.
Now see, I love that time period because what's her name? I always pick on Mark all the time. I tell him that.
Boudica,
yeah. I pick on him all the time. I'm like, do you realize that your freaking warrior princess was from freaking Essex? It was an Essex chick.
Yeah, she was quite something. All because her children, like they did they kill her husband, rape her children,
rape her and her children, and it's because they spoke out against the Romans. She was raised. Her husband was actually a freaking king, and had a lot of wealth, and he was a noble.
Steal all that.